I mean, with every business that you get into, right, there is an essential lesson that you grasp from what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how boring it is. I mean, you said property can be mundane.
That's right.
And boring, depending on the kind of deals you're doing.
That's right.
But I'm sure there's been some lessons and how they've shaped your investment approach. Well, what are those lessons?
Flipping properties, budget control is super important. Like budgets can creep away.
Easy for you, you're a financial guy, isn't it?
Exactly. Budgets can creep away from you really, really quickly. So it's important to keep your finger on top of that. And costing. Costing is the easiest way to make sure that your budgets stay on track. So don't just go into a deal thinking, this reno is going to cost me 200,000 Rand because you sucked that out of your thumb. Write it down, even if it is rough, right? Write it down, maintain your budget. And then contractor management is super, super important when you're
contractor management.
Flips. Contractor management, that's what I'm calling it. Contractor management, right?
Because they need to be managed to those guys.
Right, they do. So at the point of my first flip, I still had a full-time job. So I had to juggle between the two. And obviously you already heard that I was new in that industry that I was working in as well. So that was challenging. I did have a lot of support.
Too many new things at the same time. For a guy who procrastinates.
Right, yes.
So I know my weaknesses.
I know how to take action.
With that one.
Definitely, yes. But I mean, that's where growth lies, isn't it?
Yes.
It's exactly that. So strangely enough, I have a passion for non-local properties. So
non-local?
Yes, non-local.
Okay.
So
non-local is an international or non-local is
not
in Cape Town, Durban?
Not Johannesburg. I do have student housing in Johannesburg. And the trend that I'm seeing there is that we unfortunately have a lot of slumlords, right? Students live in some terrible conditions. The properties that I've seen are absolutely disastrous. The things I've seen are bad. They're bad. So that's one of the trends that I see. People try to make so much money out of their property that they forget they're dealing with people, right?
Yeah.
That's like, those are still people. So that, and then coastal, which is what I really, really like. So that's my growth focus moving forward. I see good opportunity there. We've seen a dip in market prices over the past 2 years, mostly because of the pandemic as well, being coastal properties. And those properties are starting to make an upturn now. So great opportunities available there if you've planned and are ready to take advantage of those.
So how do you think then these trends are going to evolve over the next couple of years? And how do you plan to take advantage of that first off?
I definitely think
positioning.
Yep. So I definitely think that a lot of these properties, like I said, have taken a knock in their pricing because of the pandemic. Also because of other challenges. Like if we look at KZN, for instance, they had all of those floods. They were really hard hit. So property prices really took a beating. We had immigration. Everybody's moved to Cape Town, right?
Yeah.
So
everybody except me and you, right?
Right.
But we're coming, guys.
Yes, we're coming. So that also left a lot of properties vulnerable in both Johannesburg and in the KZN area. And when you look at property statistics, these areas have suffered a drop in their prices. So good to take advantage of that now that they're starting to see an upswing again. People are traveling, people are optimistic again. So those properties have steadily started to increase in price again. So taking advantage of that, I mean, if you are ready to invest in those properties, look at them, schedule those viewings, make negotiations while those people are still willing to sell their properties, right? Yeah. And get your foot in the door.
So although you said property investing is mundane and boring, and I think it gets mundane and boring when you know what you're doing. Because it becomes a repetitive system that you've put in place for yourself.
That's right.
Right? But for a guy that's just starting out, there are a lot of complexities that they can come across. So what advice do you have for new guys that are starting out for them to be able to overcome those complex challenges that come with investing in property?
I think that those challenges are also really dependent on your personality type, right? So for me, one of those challenges is making contact with those agents. It's really not something that I enjoy, but you have to build the relationships. And for somebody that is maybe outgoing, a challenge that they might have is actually knowing whether this deal that they're talking about is feasible. So what do those numbers look like? So I think that they need to assess where they think their shortcomings are. And the problem as well is that you don't know what you don't know, right?
That's the thing.
And so I would definitely say some form of education, right? So whether that is, like I've said, watching a YouTube video, even though I attend professional property events, I do also watch YouTube people. Like there are a lot of influencers out there that know good things.
Yeah.
So at least some sort of education will help you know what it is you need to know to make a move on your first deal.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any tips on how to identify potential growth opportunities in the market? Okay, more specifically, the property market.
I think that when you look at places where a lot of attention is focused, so when you hear hype about something, it's definitely worth taking a look at, right? Because there's a reason why that hype is there. So saturation is not necessarily a bad thing. It depends on how you compete with that saturation, right? I mean, we have many finance professionals, we have many IT professionals out there. So what makes that different? How you perform is what makes that different. So I think where you see a lot of talk and a lot of interest, investigate those areas, because that is probably a very safe bet to make your first move as well.
Yeah. When you made that career change in 2019, right? You obviously then started to build two careers simultaneously, because you had the new career that you started, then you had the property career that you had started. I mean, how do you continue to grow in those careers and personally as a person? So it's more like professional plus personal growth. I mean, what do you do to grow in both aspects?
A lot of sacrifice.
What are you sacrificing? Hey, there are black people watching here. They'll be thinking, hey, sacrifice.
A lot of time, a lot of hours. I think, like I've mentioned, I have a business coach, so a monetary sacrifice as well, right? To bring you up to speed on things, right? So I think growing my professional career in a different industry really took a lot of effort. So I'm a finance guy. I understand one-on-one. And I think moving into the IT space, understanding things like coding, systems, database languages, right? That was complex stuff. That took a lot of time and it took a lot of energy. But then on the other end, I was really passionate about property and I really wanted to do that. So I spent a lot of evenings attending webinars, events, doing learnings, courses and stuff that I'd enrolled in. And I think that personally, you have to grow as well. Otherwise, those two things would never have worked out. So I spent a lot of time on personal development with my business coach, by reading various different books and just by learning more about yourself.